do you have a prediction for your biggest business winner of 2025, sir?
I think the biggest business winner of 2025 are going to be dollar-denominated stablecoins.
Ooh.
I'll make 2 points. In 2024, two critical things happened. The first is that stablecoins essentially became uncoupled from crypto volatility, and it started to be used for wholesale useful functions in running businesses. And there's an image here that starts to show that. So independent of crypto volatility, what you saw were stablecoin usage just rising up and to the right. That's an incredibly important decoupling that happened in 2024. The second, and this data is still just trickling in, but it's an incredible stat. Stablecoin usage at the end of the second quarter of 2024 was about 1.1 billion transactions that summed to $8.5 trillion of transaction volume. If you compare that to Visa over the same period, it was more than double Visa's transaction volume. So I think what we have now is something that has fundamentally crossed a point of no return. Similar to how last year I thought that the big trend was going to be Bitcoin in 2024, I would say that the big trend in 25 is stablecoin usage. I think we're going to finally attack the duopoly of Visa and MasterCard. I think you're going to see an innumerable number of use cases that sit and use stablecoin rails. I think when Donald Trump becomes president, I think you're going to see him go after incredibly high credit card transactions and costs. You're already seeing cracks in consumer credit anyways because of these high APRs. All of this stuff is going to come to a head in 2025, I think. And I think stablecoins could quadruple or quintuple by the end of 25. I think it's just going to be an enormous market.
Great choice. Should they be regulated, Chamath? We saw at some of these congressional hearings, Tether was kind of dragged for being the primary transfer and monetary tool for terrorism, for getting around sanctions, and for human trafficking. Should it be regulated, and how?
I don't think I'm qualified to say how it should, but I think the point is that there are these immutable logs that sit in between and on either side of all of these transactions. And so I think the knowledge is there, and there are a whole bunch of third-party services that add that intelligence layer. I think the thing to really question is, if you just took 300 basis points of drag out of the global economy,
massive gains.
How valuable would that be? And I think it would be valuable just in the United States alone to the tune of $1 trillion. So the idea that you wouldn't do it at this point is somewhat quizzical to me. So I just think that the economic justification for this now is just so profound.
Gavin, let me ask you a hard question there as well. Should the United States government give up the, let's face it, they have a bit of a stranglehold. They've got a bit of a monopoly on US dollars. These things are a competitor. And we were sitting here on this program for the last couple of years talking about the BRICS and them starting their own currency. Aren't these in some ways similar to that, and they would take people off the USD standard? How do you look at that? Because that is the criticism that some people in power have put forward.
I do think that they might be very good for the world, but I do think they would be very bad for America if they replaced, if some constellation of stablecoins became the new reserve currency. It is such an advantage to be able to borrow in your own currency, and to give that up lightly. That means you control you control the real size of your debt at all times. Oh wow, we have a big debt. I mean, this is a little bit like what we just did. Let's just let inflation run hot, and oh wow, that debt's a lot smaller than it was. Effectively. So I think it would be a big mistake.
Freeberg, you have any thoughts on it? We've been talking about currency here a whole bunch over the last couple of years. Any thoughts on stablecoins and just the monopoly we have on it?
I don't know enough about
Okay.
stable coins.
Well, that'll be one of our big topics for the year. And we should definitely invite Jeremy Allaire from USD on, or USDC.
Jeremy Allaire, I mentioned, by the way, that I had this small little product that I exposed to the world, which is just our research. And we sit it on top of Substack. Again, the tools aren't very good. And we use Stripe. And Jeremy reached out to me and he's like, I'll just rebuild all of your payment rails on using US dollar stablecoins. And it's a no-brainer because I'm spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in transaction costs that now I can just save and use to hire somebody else or just pay the team more. And so I just think, like,
paying 10% to Substack and the 3%, yeah.
If it's obvious for me, it's obvious for everybody else.
All right, my biggest business winner prediction for 2025 is Tesla and Google.